Welcome to Out of Africa Rise with Susan West. It is a brilliant Sunday here in London, and I do hope that wherever you're joining us from, that you've had a wonderful day so far. As you join this broadcast, do the needful, which is invite your friends, share, send in your questions and comments. First, before we carry on, I must apologize. Last weekend, we had to reschedule the broadcast twice and then finally canceled it because our guest we had two guests last weekend, and for some strange reason, something came up for the other, and the other was rushed to the hospital. And so it was, yes. So that was the reason we didn't come up. But one of our guests from last week is here today. His name is Mr. Omoyele Sowore. He is a presidential aspirant. Um, Running for presidency on one of the political parties in Nigeria. He's also an activist. And so today, what we're going to be talking about is about some of the things that have been taken out of Africa, especially the ones that have been taken out by Europe and England, or Great Britain as it was known at the time, and a little backdrop of um, where some of these artifacts were gotten from, or where this particular one we want to talk about today was gotten from, and um, you know things to do with all of that and more with colonial powers. So basically, our topic is changing narratives and perceptions of relationships shared with colonial powers. It is high time that Africa finally finds the guts to begin to define and give definitions, define or give definitions to relationship that they have with Western powers. Because for a very long time, it's been the case where we rarely ever have an idea, a thought, or of what our relationships are with the rest of the world, especially when it comes to Europe and the United States of America. It's always one-sided. They make the rules. They can turn they change the tables anytime it suits them, and we seem not to have any voice whatsoever. So of course, as you join into this broadcast, share, invite your friends, and send in your comments and questions. I mean, this is something that if you're very knowledgeable about, do not hesitate to type in what you know about it, especially this scepter that is you usually see in the with the late Queen Elizabeth II holding in her hands um, during her coronation. The interesting part of it is that was something that, um, according to research that I've seen, was gotten from South Africa. And of course, there is the Koino diamond from India as well. So I'm just waiting for our guest, Shore, to join in. Welcome, Utwak Ahok. Thank you for joining. So basically, I'm just waiting to get Shore join in. I just spoke to him. He's trying to log on. So let's give him a little bit of time to get onto the broadcast. But in the meantime, whilst we're waiting, I'm just going to see if I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So I just want to show you a little bit of what we're talking about. So, for some of us who don't know what it is, to give a little idea. So when you see the photos of Queen Elizabeth II, especially after she's passed, the pictures are all over the internet, on television. You find that she's holding a scepter that looks like it's got some serious heavy diamond in there. So that diamond in there is called the colonial diamond. It was gotten from South Africa. And guess what? The value of that diamond I hear is over 2 billion, or about $2 billion. That's some serious diamond. And I'm not sure if it's something that was gifted to the monarchy by South Africa, or it was taken by force, as many things was taken away by force by colonial powers. As far as the one from India is concerned, we do know that it was borrowed out to the royal family, and I also have learned that they're asking for it back. And so, Stone Chipenia, hi. Vidya Patin says, yes, sister, there are a lot of us out here that will like to help in whatever way we can. Welcome, all of you. We're just waiting for our guests to join the broadcast, and we will carry on with conversation for today. Okay, how we can begin to have a little bit of, not a little bit, we should have a say, equal say in conversations that we have with the so called world powers. Recently, I've noticed that there are a few other countries that have been colonized outside of Africa, but they seem to be able to find a voice to talk, to have a stand, i.e., India, for instance. India has made the West understand that you don't come and keep lecturing them all the time, always making it look as though they have all the knowledge, they have all the wisdom, they know it all, and so they always come down to telling and telling, like they do to Africa as well, telling Africans how to run their lives, telling Africans how to, you know, basically vote, politics, the sort of leaders we have, sometimes imposed, sometimes, in a very subtle way, they foist or hoist their their candidates on the rest of us. Welcome, Klokobi, watching from Ghana. Welcome. And Vidya Patin says none of those things were given, they were stolen. Yes, as regards to Africa, I absolutely agree. But why is it that when they take things from us, they don't it's not termed to be stolen. They give it some fanciful name of how it was taken, you know. Okay. We need alarm. We need alarm natural resource. What is that? I think he's mistyped. Welcome, welcome, Washington Stanley, all the way from Switzerland. Claude Kobe says, it's about time Africans rise up to redeem whatever their colonial masters took away from them. I don't know what's stopping us. Guess our leadership and that serious with us. Simple. They will never be serious with us until we make them accountable to us. Yes. So I'm wondering what's going on with our guest. He should have joined by now. Let me have a look. What's going on? Where is he? Okay, I'm just gonna give him a ring. Bear with me a moment. All right. Thank you, guys. Bear with us. Uh, our guest is having difficulty joining the studio, so we're just still waiting. Okay, technical issues, but we will definitely surmount it. So, yes, as we wait for him to join in, let me see how much reads I can take. Stone Chipanya says, "Hello, madam. Please help us. That thing is to come back to Africa." Oh, it's all our collective effort. Not one person can do it. Not one person can do it. It's our collective voices asking for what has been taken away from us to come back that can do that. Not one single person can do so. Let's see. What? Stone, I don't understand you. What do you mean, please kill the king to bring back the demand we needed back? Sometimes people type quicker than their minds. Let's see. Oh, I think I understand what he means. No, 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 no. There is no. We're not doing killings. No, no, that's not the way to go. We're going to use our brains. We're going to use our brains. We're civilized. We're the first civilization ever. Okay. We're in a generation where we only win when we use our brains, not through violence all the time. Okay, let's see. Majok from India says, made it India made its position clearly. They want their Koino diamond returned to India. Watching from India. Oh yes, absolutely. I am really, really impressed with India, the government, the people, the confidence that they have in themselves, and they are not afraid. They are not afraid of world powers. They are not afraid of Europe, the Europeans and the government of Europe. They're not afraid of America. Literally, I was watching the United Nations meeting today on television, and I could see how eloquent the Indian foreign minister spoke about them not picking sides on with the Russia-Ukraine war, and the reason they will not pick sides, but not one single African leader is able to stand there and say for sure. I mean, we're not supporting war, and we don't want to encourage war, but the capacity, the audacity to be able to trust yourself enough um, to voice or reiterate the thinking or the mood of your people on a stage like that. Absolutely, India is getting it right. India has warned them to stop coming to lecture them. And so now you can see when America is talking to India, when Britain is talking to India, there is a little more respect. I see it. I'm following what's going on in India as well. So I see it. And we need to be there. We need to put in leaders. We don't lack the sort of people that can give us the sort of leadership. But you see, because we're constantly sabotaged by these people, these powers, not allowing us to choose who our leaders should be because they want to put puppets and people that they can control. Hence, the reason why you see that they want to put in people who are extremely corrupt, because for them to be able to deal with these people and get what they want, they need to be able to have something they can use to continue to blackmail them. So they don't want someone with a clean record. They don't want someone who is going to come and do well for us, you know? So we must understand these things. Oh my goodness. I do hope that my guest is able to join. Let's see. Let's see here. Stone Chipanya. Let's see. Oh, finally. Thank goodness. Good evening, Mr. Shore. Thank you for making
Yes,
it.
ma'am. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can. Yes. Yes. Thank you
All
so
right, give me
very
a
much.
Let me adjust
Okay.
my light a little bit. All right. I think you can see me better now.
Yes, yes,
Can
yes.
you see
You're
me?
fine, and I can hear you clear. Yes, I can see you. I can
All
see you
right.
clearly, and I can hear you clearly. Thank you. All right. So now that our guest is here, let's quickly start the conversation first. So the topic again, Mr. Showore, just to remind you, is let's see, changing narratives and perception of relationships shared with colonial powers, and having at the back of our minds also artifacts taken away from Africa and the rest of the world, if you will. And of course, taking into, there's this photo that is now going round since the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, of the scepter that she was holding. And we have now learned that the diamond from that on that scepter was something that was taken, carted away from South Africa, and I hear is worth $2 billion. So let's just, before we go to all of those places, Mr. Showore, first of all, I've introduced you before you came on, but I'm going to do it again. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know Mr. Showore, he's a Nigerian and he's running for the presidency to become president of Nigeria. He's also an activist. Okay. So, Mr. Showore, just go ahead and talk about first. I think we should start with why you want to be president of Nigeria.
Thank you for bringing me on your show. And Nigeria is so important, not just to the continent. It's great. And I have my strong belief that one of the reasons why the African continent is not doing too well in terms of governance today is because Nigeria has lost leadership as a moral compass for the continent. If Nigeria when he had its uh, leadership in the right place, wouldn't have allowed a lot of the errant African leaders to be doing the nonsense. Having said that, I overheard you talking about the Queen, and that I tweeted when the Queen died that when is it cool to goods? I said that because if it was a black of snacks in the US where I lived for 20 years, they'll end up in jail. Could be walking around with 2 billion worth of stolen diamond from South Africa, returning it, and Africans are supposed to be bereaved. And compatriots here were crying. Some of our compatriots were students registered for a queen that participated in colonialism or colonization of the continent of Africa. As a matter of fact, one of the most notorious slave ships that came to Africa, Africans, it was owned by the Queen. And Queen was nicknamed Jesus. I don't know if anybody ever heard about that before. So it makes sense to you to understand why Africans who are acting in a very stupid manner, and you still go ahead. African leaders went ahead to the UK. The boss, it reminded me of slavery. It's like they were Africans were jam-packed in a ship for slavery and taken to go and mourn, show bereavement of someone that has only. So it's the reason why Africa should get it right. It's the reason why Africa need really to shape the future of Africa. We should be calling for that diamond to be returned to South Africa. Even it, it could be returned in form of, uh, I mean, but it will be up to South Africans to determine how they want it back, whether it's or cash or in kind. So it's a conversation. And I'm glad that the death of the Queen opened the eyes of the world forcefully. I get to see her records and her history.
Right. So, so the reason you want to be president of Nigeria is because you know that you have the capacity to begin to take steps to change the narratives and given more um, definition of what Africa's relationship should be with the rest of the world, especially the West, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the story of the West. I lived there for 20 years. Before then, I read extensively. I actually taught in two U.S. Uh, colleges history, and this is what I tell them in class. Like, I used to describe my class Africa as a hotel where the white man time he came, he stole the soap, and then second time he came, he stole, and after a while they stole the bed, and they're stealing little things, and then they came and stole the hotel, and it belongs to them. So that's how I see Africa, and that's why the narrative must be changed. But narrative without breaking the mental slavery that there's still in the minds, that's colonizing the minds of Africans to do a lot of the things we do. It's what that led us to abandon our culture, our heritage, and including our dignity as a people.
Sometimes your audio breaks out. I'm missing some of the things you're saying, so pardon me if I haven't heard everything you've said. So let me just take this read here. What do you think, Shore, the OAU, which is for a lot of even Africans begin to the AU now, of course, has termed it a toothless bulldog. It's just a sitting duck. And what is the significance or the relevance of the OAU of the AU now? As Claude Kobe says, OAU, Organization of African Union, must come back with a collective idea of one motive. We need all our gold, artifacts, diamonds, and a huge compensation accordingly. So, what do you think the AU, the African Union, should be doing about all of these things?
The AU is a tea party. The AU leaders are the same people you saw was in London, trying to go to the Queen's, everything they can to, fit into that box, trying to go to the Queen's funeral. The AU is so terrible that its headquarters, that tells you the whole place is wired, bugged, because Africans can't even get it right. They can't even build the headquarters of their own organization. So Africa badly needs a couple of leaders in various strategic countries to come and fix it. Require a lot of courage and resilience to fight off this tweeting something today about France. France doesn't have a single, but they said they have some of the biggest gold reserves in the world. Were taken out of Africa, Mali, and all those francophone countries. France still have the currencies of a lot of African countries, and we're just sitting there acting like, and it is. It shows that we have not really had real independence, and
Right.
until Africa got independence back, they're not going anywhere. And that's why you need leaders who can speak to these issues, who can stand up for it where necessary, to die for it, to break this yoke this is colonialism, what we now call neo-colonialism in, in
Now, talking about breaking the yoke, how do we go about breaking the yoke if we're continuously dependent on these people? Today, I heard President Muhammadu Buhari at the UN calling for debt relief. I know a couple of other African nations also have asked for the debt to be forgiven. Now, in those days when we were a lot ignorant, we used to be, dancing about debt relief. Oh, yes, they've forgiven our debt and so on and so forth. But of course, also listening to intellectuals like Professor Akinterewa on television today, you understand that nobody is going to give you anything on a platter, especially not the same people who have put you in the same position where you are, by systematically enslaving you and your people. So if we go ahead with asking for debt relief, what do you think will be the conditions that will not be visible in the public space for us to see, that will keep us perpetually enslaved as Africans?
that's why this African unity is so important. We've reached a point with how much we're giving to the world and how much we're taking from the rest of the world, America, now China. If we do the calculation and we subtract from what we're giving, we should be able in unison to say, look, or we need to even audit this debt in the first place. You can't keep taking. When you take African resources, you determine the price. When African finished product, you determine the price. It's not fair. And until that of imbalance is addressed by solid African leaders who can speak to debt relief, aid, all these things are just buzzwords that are meant to insult. How do you claim that I owe you when you're diamond? When you stole artifacts from my part of the world, and most importantly, revenue, resources stolen to these Western banks, and they are not even interested in discussing those things. One single could have $70 billion. I'm exaggerating here. Let's even batch stole from Nigeria, kept in these Western banks. To get the money back, you have to. In the case of Nigeria, it took over 22, 23 years to get back something like $100. And you have all of these sitting down in fat bank accounts, stocks, and all kinds of places. You even release it to us, and you are telling us that we are owing you. It's wrong. These are conversations clearly philosophically minded African leaders are courageous enough to challenge the status quo. The status quo must be radical. I, for instance, found out that during the debt relief that Nigeria went through, nobody had the paperwork of how much we owed. None. Guesswork. And then tell you owe the Paris Club this, you owe this club this. I think you live in the US as well, Susan, right?
I'm in the UK.
Yes. So you can't go to a bank and get a credit card, right? How is it that African leaders can just go borrow money?
Yeah.
Without any collateral, credit rating, and then the countrymen and women are then saddled with. The same thing doesn't happen to the US. I ask people if the money to spend, does it put it in the Bank of England as a reserve, foreign reserve as we call it? No. Do you have that, this international investments or US or European money needs to be put in a reserve? African banks will do a better job because we have higher interest rates here. Let them, we'll give them better return on investment. But there's no U.S. Reserve Bank holds the U.S. Reserve. The Brits hold their own countries must keep monies as a reserve. All these issues are not being challenged. When you talk about this, they call you an economic science. How can I be hungry? Can't send my children to school, can't build nothing, and you are insisting that I must keep $30 billion in your bank. I must keep gold bars in your bank when I'm the one who is in need of the gold. I'm the one who is in this in my country. It doesn't make sense, and this is some of the imbalances that they use their power in Africa. If Africa has people, individuals like myself, run Nigeria, I will fight this out. And like I said during the also did it a bunch of tweets where I said, look, if we're going to pull out of the Commonwealth, the alumni of formerly colonized countries, except if we can travel to the Commonwealth countries visa free. Countries, if what we do is to come and attend the Queen during the Commonwealth Games,
That's
I'm not going to do that. I won't allow my countries to do that.
Yeah, because
that's
a
the way
lot of
say that I believe these things are possible with real leadership on the crying for real leadership. We don't used to
a lot
have
of
the
people are beginning
Nkrumahs.
to.
You don't have those great thinkers, even though some of them made mistakes. Mistakes compared to the mistakes of the colonial masters or the new colonial masters, they did than any of those African leaders. That
Yeah,
they like to demonize.
it's just like recently a lot of people are beginning to ask a
I
question
I can't
of.
hear you. Let me. Maybe you will hear you.
Can you hear me now? Wow, he can't hear me. Can you guys hear me out there? My audio is fine. It's from your end. Oh wow. Can I have that? I'm just gonna message him and let him know it's from his end. Um, guys, bear with us. You see, this is one of the things
Can't hear
we
you.
keep
Can't hear
having.
you.
Okay, I'm gonna message you now.
Susan, I'm gonna send you a message.
Okay. Okay. So I will just wait for him to sort out his probably if he needs to leave and rejoin. So a lot of people are asking questions of what is so common about the Commonwealth of Nations, especially as regards the other countries that make up the Commonwealth, who were colonial um, enclaves of Britain. What is so common? Because when you look at it, there is hardly any advantage for African countries and the other countries. I mean, coming to Britain or coming to the UK, you need a visa, and it's very stringent conditions. So what is common about the Commonwealth? I need someone who is smarter than myself to come and educate us about this. Let's see. We're just gonna let me take this off. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, yes. Just I was just saying that a lot of people are now asking the question of what is so common about the Commonwealth. What is exactly is what's the
We are the
commonality
only
between
things. We are the,
what's
we
the
are the only
commonality
common thing
between us?
in the
Hmm.
Commonwealth. Only Commonwealth. Otherwise, the Commonwealth is an uncommon body of Commonwealth of inequality.
Right. And Chiwari, I wanted to ask you, in looking forward to becoming the president of Nigeria, there are quite a few people that have caught the fancy of young people as far as who they're going to be voting for. I've heard you criticize even Peter Obi, who is right now a big favorite for a lot of young people and new voters. Now, what is the kind of leadership or the kind of person you think we need that have will be able to have the courage to stand up to the powers that be that seem to look like they're helping us, but actually, in actual fact, they're not helping us with the relationship that we share with them and the way they take advantage of the relationships that we have, and the total disregard of us as a people. I'm going to quickly also cite that a couple of days ago I saw on television that the American ambassador to Nigeria went to visit Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I just said, in my opinion, it was a psychological game, even though she was there talking about how this is not an endorsement or asking people on how to vote. We know how the Americans operate in subtle ways. And instantly it just came to my mind that these people have come again. They've come in the most subtle way. I mean, there are many other presidential aspirants. Have they reached out to you? Have the American embassy or the ambassador reached out to you to have a meeting with you? I'm wondering if she's done that with Peter Obi. I'm wondering if she's done that with Atiku. Why is it Bola Ahmed Tinubu that she went to see? No matter the excuses that she gave that day, for me, it was just pure corruption right there speaking. Because for me, I'm thinking this is the one person, there's so much smudge, so much dirt on this person's name and hanging around this person's image. And then America, the so-called big brother of the world, is there paying a visit to someone who has not even yet stood for the election. So what's your take on that?
All these colonial or new colonial masters have their factions. And part of the thing you said, because you asked so many questions, things you have mentioned is that everybody will go and somehow pitch tent with, they want the Nigerian voters to look at. But we have as Africans, you cannot find in the US go openly visit a candidate elections. You can't. It's not allowed. You're not to be seen elections. Even though Saudi Arabia does influence elections with money, there's a lot of money, so brazen. In the case of all these European countries, reached out to me. If they reached out to me, I would probably talk to them because close my doors to let them understand where I stand. But I doubt they consider me someone who is too radical for the kind of politics out of Africa. And you don't need to know. I've been, I not only fought for democracy, human rights against the oil companies. So I've done so that I won't make them feel comfortable with my kind of candidate. Even if they come to see me, I would not. They want me to win. I just be to size me up because they did that to me in 2019. Senior political officers, and at that time it was clear that they were looking for people to work for Atiku without saying it. They always like talk to you in a way that would they give room for if they're caught red, they're not denying it. But again, it shows how to just dabble into African internal politics openly. The consular or ambassadorial level shows that they don't have respect for our processes during elections.
Mm-hmm.
Things we cannot try in their countries. Nigerian ambassador cannot go and visit the candidates running as a prime or as a prime minister in France, or even China. So how come they can just easily walk into our houses hey, we're not here to endorse, but that sign. This is so. But I'm in these elections, and I understand that these candidates, especially so many of these forerunners, because so-called,
Right.
uh, they some are adopted by the UK, some are adopted by the US, by other interests. But I don't have that kind of relationship with it. I've lived there for 20 years. I think I haven't lived there for 20 years. The kind of Nigeria president, so they can't be too excited about me. Sure.
Right. I'm
So
gonna
I'm
come
looking
to. I'm
for
gonna
the
come to.
endorsement. I'm looking for the endorsement of Nigerian people.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you. There's a question I'm gonna ask you, and just so that you have it at the back of your mind, which is, but you're not going to respond to it now. Which is, if you feel like you don't have this sort of support, what gives you the idea that it's even ever possible that you will win the election someday if you keep trying? But before you respond to that, you recently went to visit Nnamdi Kanu, I hear, because you were invited by Nnamdi Kanu to come see him. So can you talk about
Yes.
what was it, how he contacted you, and what you went to do, and what the outcome was?
Since it was Kenya brought back to Nigeria, but I was the first person to go to court and say to people, I heard from him that I'm sure they kidnapped him, and we need to see him alive. Briefly rushed him into the courtroom with hood over his head. This sort of kind of inhuman and degrading treatment. And I know these guys very well. So going to court each time they have a trial, they won't let me into the courtrooms, and courtrooms to attack me physically with, there's non-state actors, secret service people, police. After a while, I asked if I could see him. I kept asking his lawyers, and they would say, so the day of the Court of Appeal hearing, where they were asking the Court of Appeal to strategies, I went to see his lawyers one thing and said, I got to see this brother to see me. And the lawyer went back and said, hey, he's been asking to see you forever. Why nobody has told you? So he instructed that my name be put on the list of people who visited, because his father-in-law was also visiting with one lawyer. So we're the only two people. So I arrived there, which is the standard is for you to arrive there by 2 p.m. I arrived there by, let me in. It was my first time back in there since I was detained for 4.5 months. But I noticed that they won't process me. Like, typically, if you arrive, have a seat, who do you want to see? So I had to go to the reception here for a while. I want to let you know that I came here to see Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu. Invited. I said, where? We have your name on the list, but they take one person at a time. So they said, like, went on, they dragged me for about an hour, and the father-in-law went in, and when he had to leave the place like very quickly, because he told him on the inside, look, Sowore, Kanu is like, I got to see Sowore, please. Go back so that they can know that you're not. And then we started waiting. So when we didn't see him, we wouldn't hear from them. It's one of the officers. I said, look, I'm here and you guys haven't come. Oh, they said like, oh, we're sorry. No, they had called the father-in-law because the national with them. They called the father-in-law aside and said, listen, help us close for the day. This was 4 p.m. And the father-in-law came to me and said, close. I'm aware that you guys are open to 6 p.m. for visitations. So I asked them to check with the director. I said, I knew that there was a lot of conversation going on while I was there, because, I would see strange faces. And the reception room is pretty wired. They have the whole place bugged. They have cameras. The hand sanitizer there is, camera. has a camera. So I knew that they were probably making contacts, and they decided
Yeah.
that, look, if this guy goes, they'll be talking revolution, and we don't want that on our hand. But they can't escape
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Thanks for that. Just before you answer that question, I'm just going to, the question I asked about why you think you'll ever have a chance to win an election, especially in a country that is so polarized with religion and tribal sentiments. I'm just going to take a few reads as we're rounding up. Vidya Patan said, when the people out here, when will, I think he wanted to say, when will the people out here be able to return? Let the African leaders come together and help with our government to do this. It's time. America is not the only country in the West. And Washington Stanley says, welcome, Sowore, the man. And this Stone says, Mr. Coming President, I hope you. Oh, some of the write ups is so difficult to read. This machine, please, we need we need you down back, please. I beg you, can you shoot off the president, please? Yes, into this info. Oh wow, I don't understand. Sorry. I was trying to make sense of it, but it's confusing for me. Let's see here. Claw Kobe says African leaders are their puppets. They make us vote for them, and the whites use them to control us, hence slavery in disguise. The black man is capable of controlling his own affairs. My first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, said so. Let's hold the fourth, he says. Some of the, I think I'm just going to skip some of the. Washington says the president and the puppets were in funeral in London. Slave ship named Jesus owned by Queen Elizabeth I. And Majok. What's that? What happened here? No. Take it off. Okay. Sorry, I think I've clicked on African leaders and their puppets. They make us vote for them. Yeah, I just took that. Let's see what's here. Our leaders, this is just jumping. Washington Stanley says, I became politically motivated after seeing little Sowore then standing beside MKO. Sowore didn't disappoint again when he outrightly rejected US passport, thereby refused to become obedient and willing slave. Now, Sowore, if you become president of Nigeria, what will you do first? And what do you consciously want to change? That's a good question. So please have that at the back of your mind as well. I'll just let you respond to that question from Washington Stanley and my question as well.
Yeah, respond to that question. Also, seek your permission to leave after the question. Sorry about the technical hitches, but I have so much on my plate. What
That's
I can win
absolutely
election
fine.
of, yeah, if I can win election, see, people like us are building consciousness, and Kwame Nkrumah came out of prison and became of Ghana. The first president of post-independence, and Nigeria is reaching where of the citizens are becoming conscious, and it is because of what has happened. And they're starting to listen to people like me. They don't even being on the lineup of presidential candidate don't used to be possible for people like the last time we had a radical voice running for election that was in 2002. The Chief Gani Fawemi, a radical prominent lawyer, more prominent. We had very massive law practice. I'm probably the poorest of the candidates now, who is, and it's because people have started to listen to ideas. If there was a bazaar where they will ask people to bid for it. I want to think candidates in Nigeria today, but imagine what I went was where I was 2019, barely unknown to many people. They claim, 2019 jail for calling for a revolution.
Oh, Sowore is frozen in time. Well, yes, I'll just keep on taking reads as we round
And
up. Okay. Oh, what a shame. Let's see. All right, guys. The network isn't so good today. Sometimes the audio is cutting out, but of course, I'm sure you heard as much as I heard, which is good enough to make sense of what we're talking about. He's frozen. I'm just gonna go ahead and um Lawa Ajay says Africa must pull out of the Commonwealth. And let's see here. Washington Stanley says Commonwealth is pure rebranding of slaves and their masters' relationship. Okay. Raina Bello, greetings. Sinovia Ridley, greetings. Yes, you're driving, sister. Yes. Um, Lawa says, oh, Shore is speaking. I can't hear him. You're muted. Shore, your network is so poor. We can barely hear you now. Oh, it's all right. We got the most part of it at least. What a shame. Lawa says, Shore, if you can hear me, I couldn't hear you. Lawa says Nigerians must remember their fellows who died during the NSAS campaign. Their death is the struggle for a better Nigeria must not be in vain. Shore, if you can hear me, I couldn't hear you, but if you can try, just give your closing remarks or your.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
saying, I want to thank these Nigerians that followed through struggles, tribulations, and adversity that followed my person and my candidacy. Uh, that we can get this far. I just want to we can make it. We can totally make it. We can push out this very weak all over the place presented by the other political parties. People without ideology, people with no history, don't even know their names. They don't have real names. They didn't go to school. You don't know where they went to school. How do you people planning to run for Nigeria's presidency who didn't go to primary school or primary school? I don't know where I went to secondary school. This wasn't like 1850, like recent. And these are the kind of people that lined up in this kind, as candidates. I'm just saying that I am a candidate that can deliver not just Nigeria, but a solid Africa. That's why our party is named African. We want to do it not just for ourselves, but for the continent of Africa. We need liberation on the continent, and we won't stop until we get it.
Thank you very much, Shore. Really, really appreciate your coming. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much for bringing issues earlier. Next time we'll resolve it and test it before, way before. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Yes, guys, it's a pity we had a bit of audio problems at times, but by and large, we could hear most of what he was saying. So yes, let's have a short read and we call it a day. Yes, Helen D, welcome. Oh, she says, wow, didn't know Showore was going to be in the show. Yes, I know you're a big Showore fan. Showore, I really appreciate your efforts. I hope Nigeria will realize how much they need you in Nigeria. That's Helen D from the United States. And King Kenyatta. Oh, long time no see, King Kenyatta. We can't continue like this. Take it back. 100% take it back. We're going to take it back. Right now, yes, the first slave ship was indeed named Jesus. We pay so much for internet, yet we don't enjoy it. Absolutely. Lawa, this is what I keep saying. Every time I have guests from Nigeria, especially, it's generally on the African continent, but especially from Nigeria, I have palpitations because I'm already worried that it just might not work. And we pay the most, for internet and yet we get nothing. Everything is messed up, and hence the reason things must change. Like we were talking about, I love the contributions that we had from everyone who's typed their comments in the truth of the matter is that there are ideas that African leaders are now asking for debt relief or debt forgiveness, whatever you might call it. However, we should be a little bit worried about getting debt relief because he who plays the piper dictates the tune, or how do they say it? The truth of the matter is, when the West decides to forgive our debts, they usually have conditions. So something, for instance, they say they're forgiving Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa, whatever monies we owe. We look at them like, oh, great, they've gone fantastic. We have corrupt leaders, and hence the reason we keep getting into this trouble. But in the back, we're never aware of what the conditions are. And the conditions are always something that is so detrimental to ordinary citizens on the African continent, because we end up paying for it, in poverty, in wars, because of the deals they strike. Only God knows what this is. But like Showore said, if I heard him correctly, there are ways to negotiate deals in debt forgiveness. If anything, they owe Africa the most. We should be the one forgiving debts because America, Europe, the United Kingdom, or Africa, everything. So we shouldn't be in debt with them. They've taken so much from us and very little given back. So we should not be in debt. And as far as the elections coming up in Nigeria, just one alarm bell. When we see people like the consular general or ambassador of the United States of America visiting people like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, those are red flags. Red flags to show that America is trying to push forward the corrupt, the ill-fitted, the least incapable candidates to make sure that they continue to impose on us leaders that clearly cannot face the challenge of leading a country as diverse as Nigeria, especially very polarized nation that we have right now. So I have nothing against Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a person, but I truly do not believe that at this point in time in Nigeria that we need a Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is obviously physically, mentally not capable of handling the stress that comes with the office of the president of Nigeria. That's my take. We have other candidates we can look to choose from. It depends on who your candidate is. I'm not here to say that it must be this person or that person, but you must look at all the factors. We need to move forward as a nation. And as Africans, we need to begin to use the same voice we use in waking up our leaders to begin to sound like us when they hold public meetings with their peers from around the world. Let them know these things that have been taken away from Africa are things that we should use as a bargaining chip, with the West. Okay? We must get something back. We should not be afraid of opening our voices and talking. And India has done it. China has done it. China is not even something we talk about. I mean, they brought themselves out, of poverty in a space of 40 years, 4 decades. India is beginning to sound like what we should be sounding like, which is the West should stop telling us what to do, how to deal with our affairs, and stop bullying us. We only allow them to bully us. When we say enough is enough, enough truly will be enough. It's been such a wonderful evening. I do hope to see you again next weekend. It's a little tricky coming on every weekend, but as much as we can, we will. Keep it locked here again next weekend. We will talk about something even of more significance. So, have a good evening. Bye bye.